Café Anyway. Welcome to Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Thank you. Yes, we are at Mike's Daily Podcast Land. Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth in Meritopia.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And it's episode 2828. That's great. It's the number so cool that we named it twice. And then we ate some delicious stroganoff I made. And it was delicious. I hope you had some. And if you didn't, I will trade you
Mike's Daily Podcast.
whatever you're eating with the stroganoff that I made. There's some leftovers. Frozen stroganoff.
Daily
Okay, enough of that.
Podcast.
Talking about stroganoff.
Yeah.
It's a little weird. Okay, so here's the thing. It's that moms are creating their own villages. I got this email from Maury Rogoff. That's almost sounding like stroganoff. He's got an off at the end of his name. Today's moms are the most educated in history, but they are also the least experienced when it comes to babies. And on top of that, most families don't have hours of help from their close family. Oh, that's so true. Oh, as my lovely lady friend does family therapy, and you would be shocked to know in the Bay Area how many families, they moved here from other places. So the families elsewhere across the globe, across the nation, maybe they're over in Texas or East Coast or something, and they got to either hire help or they got to hope friends will help out. Without family help, moms began to believe, and they need their close family. It's precious support that used to be universal throughout human history. You know how that is when you look at your human history, your human history book that you have that's probably outdated by now. But that's...
And here's today's podcast picture.
If you have heard some of the stories that were handed down in your family, you would have heard, the family helped out this and this way and that way. I know that for a fact with my mom's side of the family that came from Germany. There was a lot of family assistance going on, people helping people. Here, not so much. Mom was all on her own. And the podcast picture is actually from a trip. After I saw my mom, the last time I saw my mom, we flew from Florida to Texas to see my lovely lady friend's side of the family. It was a lot of fun. And I took this picture in downtown Dallas. Some cool buildings there. See it at mikesdailypodcast.com. Basil was no longer with us at that point. We had lost him 2 years earlier, but yes, he never made it to Texas, as far as I know. He was in Fresno. When we adopted him, he was in Fresno. He was already a year and a half. Great dog. Go walk your dog is my point. Okay, so without family help, moms began to believe the big lie that good moms were supposed to do everything. But it looks like moms are finally starting to let go of that false narrative. For example, as the traditional village continues to shrink, the demand for postpartum doulas has steadily increased. Also on the upswing, moms renting Snoo. Snoo offers an extra set of hands for help soothing throughout the day and even in the middle of the night. Something a new parents' village would have been able to offer just a generation or two ago. And you might be saying, "Oh, Mike,
that's legit.
That's legit, Mike. What is Snoo? Is that like Snoo Dog?" No. And didn't we just realize that Snoo Dog had it all worked out and has become he could become president someday. A Snoo is a baby bed that soothes and sleeps babies 6 months with womb-like motion, 0 to 6 months rather, with womb-like motion and sound. Moms are showing themselves grace. Moms are finally asking that judge inside their head to take a hike. A recent survey shows that most modern parents give themselves high marks for the job they're doing. 64% said they're doing an excellent job or very good as a parent. And another 32% say they do a good job. Kudos. One of the best things you do, and I just scream out the word kudos whenever I have the chance. One of the best things you can do for yourself as a new mom is to be supportive to yourself as you would be your best friend, says Dr. Harvey Karp, pediatrician and best-selling...
I can't believe... What the hell is this place anyway?
Café Anyway is what this is. Best-selling author of #1 Parent Guide, Happiest Baby on the Block, and Happier Toddler on the Block. Oh, and creator of the SNU. Oh, this is the guy, Harvey Karp, FDA authorized. The SNU is apparently, and responsive to babies fussing. Dads are more open about mental health. Recent research shows that 80% of millennial parents believe they are setting a good example for their children for dealing with stress and supporting mental health. And 98% are actively prioritizing talking about mental health with their kids. Not only are parents today working on their own emotional health, they're raising a generation of kids who will do the same. Moms are seeking family-first work perks. Family-friendly employee benefits are among the top workplace trends for this year, and employers are finally taking action. This year, more and more moms are seeking and receiving workplace benefits like flexibility, paid parental and adoption leave, surrogacy benefits, flex spending for daycare. In fact, great employers across America, says Dr. Harvey Karp.
Anyway.
Here at Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley, the last place on earth, says that great employers across America now support young families and boost loyalty and retention by giving new parents free 6-month SNU rentals as he promotes his SNU. As we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Podcaster Valley, the last place on earth in the land of Ameritopica. And the Topica continues. Nurseries are not only flawlessly decorated, because dads are getting more real online. Living rooms, kitchens, spaghetti spattered high chairs and other messes. And in 2024, online parents are increasingly comfortable highlighting this messy realness. This real deal looks at the modern family home and lifestyle called scruffy hospitality. New moms need to know that perfection is not real, is what he's saying. This Dr. Harvey Karp. And apparently he was in San Francisco this week.
Good morning, Mr. Matthews.
So that's what I learned from that email sent to Mike's Daily Podcast at gmail.com. I am Mike. I am Mr. Matthews. Nice to meet you. And one other interesting thing I wanted to tell to you, to the person that you are listening right now, that that Slack has been using data from your chats to train its machine learning models. Yes, Slack. It trains machine learning models on user messages, files, and other content without explicit permission. This according to Engadget, and a story written by Will Shanklin. The training is an opt-out, meaning your private data will be leached by default. Making matters worse, you'll have to ask your organization's Slack admin to email the company to ask it to stop. You can't do it yourself. I don't use Slack. I think my lovely lady friend, her company does. But yes, in response to concerns over the practice, Slack published a blog post to clarify how its customers' data is used. According to the company, customer data is not used to train any of Slack's generative AI products, which it relies on.
You ready?
it relies on third-party LLMs but it is fed to its machine learning models for products like channel and emoji recommendations and search results. Slack's traditional ML models use de-identified aggregate. I don't even know what that's saying. Okay, so there you go. In case your company uses Slack. It's a Salesforce-owned company. That's just crazy. Maybe whatever you put on the internet, just expect it's going to be intercepted. So be careful what you send out there. And speaking of being out there, we're outside a Café Anyway somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Look who's here. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. How ya doing?
Hey, to Disgruntled Fiddle Player, tell you what.
What?
I was promised some stroganoff today, beef stroganoff. And I didn't get any, Mark, so, what's up?
Well, it's actually chicken stroganoff.
Okay, now that sounds disgusting.
Uh-huh. Well, if you want to be a little more healthy, chicken is the new beef, as we talked about in a recent podcast. But yes, I don't know, cows are really sweet animals sometimes when they're not stepping on your foot or your dog, and chickens are nice when
that's wild.
when they're not trying to peck your eyes out. That's wild, that's filed. So I don't know where we are with this whole thing, but thank you for pointing that out, Disgruntled Fiddle Player. Food for thought, as it were. Somehow though, I doubt you can make a stroganoff with tofu.
Anarchy! I don't even know what that means, but I love it!
Burgermaster.
That's something that some very leftist person would come up with. Speaking of leftism, Jerry Bauer wrote this recently. Leftism is an incoherent revolt against the created order. He says, does the left believe in personal autonomy? When the topic is abortion, they claim to, but when the topic is vaccine mandates, they clearly don't. Do you believe in free expression? When the topic is anti-Semitic agitation on campus, they claim to, but when conservatives are intimidated off of some campuses, they clearly do not. And
It's Bison Bentley's. Do you know that?
Hey, this is Bison Bentley, and Mike Matthews has a couple of stories that'll make you want to ask yourself, do you know that? Do you know that?
well, do you know that? And ask yourself, are people on the left for public order? They claim to be when they hold endless hearings about the riots that happened on January 6th. And believe me, I am so against those riots that happened on January 6th. It was despicable. It was a blot that our history will always have on it. I don't see why anyone should feel proud about what happened that day. But Jerry Bauer goes on to say, when Antifa burns down cities, they clearly are not. Now, I'm not for them burning down cities either. So this is where I part ways with Jerry Bauer. Finally, Jerry Bauer says it becomes a lot less confusing when you realize that leftism is not a coherent philosophy and does not try to be philosophically consistent. Leftism is a revolt against the creation order. The left uses each of these tools selectively only when they can be repurposed into weapons to blast away not only just social order, but at the very created order of reality. And that is interesting when somebody writes this however many these were short paragraphs.
Do you have any safe spaces?
Safe spaces?
Yes, where people can go to get away from the colonialist mentality. As long as there's a diversity, equity, and inclusion policy, we'll be fine.
In those short paragraphs, and Dennis Prager does this a lot, where he rails against the left, quote unquote, but it seems that somebody could say the exact same thing about the right, quote unquote, and come up with all kinds of big descriptions that, say, for example, your white supremacy, etc., that would also be, it's just this type of talking. It doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help us meet in the middle. It doesn't help us push this conversation in a positive way. So people like Jerry Bauer, Carol Platt-Liebau, they do these quick little vignettes, Ed Morrissey, that I know they're trying to put out a point, but they, in the end, are not, they're not helping. They're not helping at all. And all the protests and all the unrest and everything else is just going to keep, it's going to keep growing because of people like them. I know they're trying to, if their conversation, if the
That's enough. Put down the mic.
I got one more thing to say. If they wanted to, no one should put down the mic. Don't put down Mike. I guess what I'm saying is, they wanted to help. They could have they can word it in a better way. That's my point, I guess. Okay, who else is here?
Hello, Mike. I make delicious root beer Hester right now. You done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Here's the root beer. Oh, boy.
Okay. Note to self: drink this root beer.
Note to self.
That's pretty good.
Drink it right now, could you?
See, this kind of dialogue, this is not going to help anyone. That's not going to help that's enough. Put down the mic. Anyway, next show, it'll be the wonderful Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley. If you would like to pick up the mic and talk about something that's on your mind, here's the phone number.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with more ways to reach me, there is this website that I have, and I got an email, and I got all that stuff, and interesting stuff on the website, by the way, so please check it out. You'll get to do some Mike's Daily Podcast type things and other stuff. And to do that, with all that info, here's A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!